Welcome everybody, thanks for coming. This is The Secret to Health, Wellness, and Vitality, presented by Peanut. My name is Ethan. Okay? Now, I want to ask you guys, what is the secret to health, wellness, and vitality? It's one of those rhetorical questions where, people say, what's the magic pill? I want the magic pill, the quick fix. Well, my goal for today is to bring you guys through some educational stuff on how to connect the dots between pain, posture, and performance. I want to introduce the health benefits of self-myofascial release. I want to link the habit with unification of mind, body, and spirit. And I also want to promote the need for an educational movement. So like I said, my name is Ethan, and I'm an exercise physiologist. I went to school at Bridgewater State College. I started in the athletic training major at first, and then I switched over to exercise physiology. When I left college, I went into the workforce in the public setting rather than the hospital setting. And what I found was that there was a need for healthcare professionals that have the background of an exercise physiologist or an athletic trainer or even a physical therapist in the trenches with the general public. So let's just kind of first talk about the human blueprint. Now, the human blueprint is basically our genetic makeup in the sense of a structure. And our blueprint is also the framework. So we got different views here. We have the old anatomy and we have the new anatomy. Now, the old anatomy, we would dissect and look at cadavers and try to learn about the human body, but we didn't realize that when we used that scalpel and sliced through that skin, that we just cut through layers of tissue that is actually very important to us, which we'll get to in a little while. Okay? Now, if you see here, when we're kids, we learn what the bone structure is because we see the skeleton in the science class. And I think that puts a little seed in our brain that the bones are connected. In reality, it's just a big pile of bones, okay? Without the tissue, the fascia, all the, connective ligaments, tendons, muscles, all that stuff, even your skin. Without that, just a pile of bones. So, that being said, let's look at some more old and new. So, as an athletic trainer, I was learning, the point of insertion, point of origin, joint actions, synergistic and antagonist muscles, all right? And all that stuff has tremendous value. I still use it. It's still great to apply. However, it's not necessarily how the body totally works. So, instead of going through and saying, okay, this here has, this function and this function and this function, okay, we're going to look over here and we're going to see, this is from anatomy trains. This here is the bottom of the foot that's been dissected. Calf, hamstrings, goes in the low back. This is the rector muscles of the spine, goes all the way up to the skull. So you can see it right here, okay? Now, if you had, let's say, a headache, or maybe you had a tight back, it could be very well that there's an issue down in the foot rather than, exactly where that pain is. So, when we look at the anatomy, we need to kind of take that new approach at the body is a whole moving piece, not individual little pieces together. All right. So moving on here. This is our human blueprint, right? And you can see the Renaissance man there, and he's pretty balanced, right? Now, most of us aren't balanced today, and that's because we have shifted out of our alignment. Many factors to that, but we'll get into that as well. So just to bring us through our basic anatomy here, we have 206 bones, generally speaking. Most adult humans have 206 bones. Those bones, like I said, they're floating. They don't actually connect to each other. Now, you also have 600 plus muscles. I say plus because, again, everybody's a little different. Some muscles, there's an extra 2 muscles in certain populations. But we'll just call it 600, okay? And those 600 muscles are in protective bags called fascia. So what I mean by a protective bag is you got all your muscles, and each muscle sits inside of a casing, and that casing connects to the next casing and the next casing and the next casing. So the entire casing is connected to each other, but the muscles themselves don't touch each other. So really, I look at it as we have 600 muscles, and we have one muscle, and we have 600 bags, okay? So now this fascial netting that these muscles sit in, it connects throughout, like I had said, and we have one muscle with 600 components. So these go through a series of compression and tension, and this is what makes us move. This is joint actions, okay? So, it's kind of this here. as you see they all move together synergistically, right? All these little joints have to be working together so that they don't, if I was to twist this, it's going to be really hard to push. And that's kind of where we run into our flexibility issues. This is where we run into those, feelings of tightnesses, and which ultimately lead to injuries. So when the blueprint is off, we do not function optimally. So when we're not functioning optimally, obviously that's a leak in our health, wellness, and vitality bank. So if we are predisposed to, having a specific lifespan when we were born, our DNA makeup says that you're going to have so many heartbeats through your lifetime, and you're going to move through space and be able to do your tasks without being in pain or breaking down for so long. Well, that bank starts to get leaked. We start stealing from our savings account of health, wellness, and vitality when we're not in alignment. So our biomechanical efficiency equals a decrease in health, wellness, and vitality. So really what's going on here, we can kind of sum it up. The issue is with the tissue, okay? So let's connect the dots, okay? Connecting the dots between pain, posture, and performance. Quick definition here, pain, all right? Pain is defined as an unpleasant sensory and emotional experience associated with actual or potential tissue damage. Now, I find that overall the word pain is something that humans are suffering with on a day-to-day basis, and they are seeking help, and they're so desperate to find it. So it's, the minute that they're in discomfort, some of us go reach for the pain medication bottle, the NSAIDs. Some of us run to the doctor. Some of us ignore it. And when we ignore it, we actually, over time, will realize, it doesn't hurt anymore. It only hurt for like a week. Well, our central nervous system and our brain shut that down. So that protective mechanism of feeling pain has now been shut down. And so that's not necessarily a good thing. We also create new motor patterns called sensory motor amnesia to kind of avoid that pain while it's going through that process of, kind of exiting the mindfulness of actual sensation of pain. All right, and then we've got our posture. Now posture, we're going to come back to this in a minute. It is our keystone. Okay, this is defined as a characteristic, a prescribed way of bearing one's body on the constant of gravity. So if you look back at the 10 scaredy ball here, okay, now our posture would be against gravity a certain specific way. Now if we shift our weight, we start to twist and we start to jam ourselves up, and we take ourselves again out of that optimal alignment. Posture is our framework, it's our blueprint. This is, like I said, the keystone. So let's go on to performance. Now performance is, it's kind of a redundant definition, but it is the true definition. It's defined as the act of executing an action. Now, this is also another way to say it's a measurable way in which someone or something is functioning. Okay, so this could be as simple as getting out of bed in the morning. That's a performance. Or tying your shoe is performance. Me sitting here talking to you, I'm performing. I have to click this button here. I have to point. I have to talk. These are performance. It could also be on the higher end scale of, say, an Olympic athlete or some sort of extreme sport. And this is where performance really comes into play when you look at posture. So posture, again, we're going to look back at posture. It's the keystone. We have tendencies and habits, and it's dictated by the way that we stand. Now, the next one is what you guys are doing right now, the way we sit. How are you sitting right now? Are you shifted off to one side? Are you leaning on one cheek? Is your leg crossed over, ankle crossed over? Are you slouching? Are you sitting on your butt bones? These are the things that over time are going to really take away from our vitality bank, okay? So sleep. How do you sleep? Most of us don't sleep in a very good position. It's comfortable, but it's not necessarily a position we should be in, okay? So now you want to also talk about the relaxed position. So this could be the way you're reading a magazine, watching TV, lounging outside, watching the birds fly when you're sitting in a hammock. The way we play could be anything from a sport to a hobby to a board game. Okay, play could be simply just taking a walk outside, which is play and activity kind of roll into each other. Okay, the way we work. Some of us have demanding jobs that require us to constantly be in the same position with the same motor pattern day in and day out. This is something you can't necessarily control, and that's where we have to undo the day at the end of the day. Now, if I was a bus driver, okay, I'd be sitting down, okay, I'd be using my left hand to steer, my right hand to shift, and my right hand to also open up that door constantly with a little twist, okay? And then if I was an identical twin, but I was a cashier, I would be standing and I'd be constantly turning to the left, using the left motion here. So those are two different postural issues, and even though those are identical twins, they have different breakdowns. All right. The way we exercise, that's a whole topic and a whole PowerPoint we'll do another day. But exercise in general, most people are not aware of the technical foundation of it. They're not totally in the proper way of lifting, or their mechanical skills are a little bit off. And we find that people that exercise are repeating the same patterns that their workday actually is being created. So you end up creating more and more of a deficit in those postural breakdowns. And then you get your congenital irregularities, and that is something you can't really do anything about. However, we can work with it. There's still a way to bring us out of that deficit of being out of alignment. And then you've got your postural stresses that bad habits and tendencies will tax the mechanical efficiency of that blueprint. All right, and we've got the muscle imbalances that will be created out of this. It's both laterally and bilaterally. Our body is kind of like, if we went back to that blueprint of the Renaissance man, you saw there was an X. Okay, now our body is kind of an X. It's a double helix. It's a front to back, side to side. You've got your push and your pulls. So it's you're going to create a lot of issues laterally and bilaterally, and it's quite a puzzle to fix. So the imbalanced tension and counter tension of this blueprint, it yields excessive wear and tear, which will obviously manifest some injuries. All right, it'll create these syndromes and illnesses that we so often have every day, and then we're also going to create disease. So let's go back and talk about posture one last time here. If it's the way that our body is prescribed against the constant of gravity, all right, and I manipulate that. Let's say I kind of slam my pelvis this way, or I'm crossing an arm and I'm just here. Now that whole blueprint shifts. Think about all the organs that are sitting in there. They're going to move. They're going to get twisted. They're going to get pinched. They're going to get crushed. Lymphatic ducts might get trapped. All right. Now you've got our world of toxins, whether we breathe and eat in, nothing we can do about, but they're going to get trapped, and that's going to manifest disease. Okay. So here is the overlapping, ever compounding puzzle of how posture is related to pain, how posture is related to performance, how performance is related to pain, and pain related to performance. You can see it's a cycle. So if you have bad posture, and you're going to experience pain. But if you have bad posture, you're also going to perform a little bit less optimally depending on how bad your posture is. So if you're not performing in a biomechanical alignment, you're now going to create an overuse, or you're going to create some sort of damage that is going to give you pain. And if you're in pain, you may go to do performance, and you're not going to like that pain, so you're going to avoid that exact motion that creates it, and you're going to perform differently. So you're going to create compensation. So you can see how they all kind of interrelate with each other. So what's the solution? Well, we want to look for a natural solution. All right. This is the secret. The secret to health, wellness, and vitality is self-myofascial release. All right. This is something that everyone should know about, and it's starting to creep up into the more of the general public arena. But this has been in the elite performance arena since the early '80s. Okay. This is defined as a therapeutic modality that is a broad term, and it's described the action of mobilizing a joint, manipulating soft tissue, and increasing circulation of the blood and lymphatic system. Okay, SMR is a form of self-massage, so it is also proven to alleviate both chronic and acute pain. Now, what chronic pain is, something that you experience every day, it never goes away, you're constantly dealing with it, and that's where people become very desperate, okay, and they run off and they get prescriptions and all this, and there's a time and a place for all that, and I don't want people to suffer, so, there's obviously a need for that kind of modern medicine, but we got to also look where we slipped and not where we fell when we're looking at the path to pain. So if you have this chronic pain, and maybe it's in your wrist, and it's because of your job and you're always reaching for a mouse and typing, well, we got to look up the chain to find the actual problem. Okay, we can treat the symptom initially to create a alleviation for the patient, but we need to then look where that problem really is stemming from so we can go ahead and fix it. And self-myofascial release and the techniques used with that, along with mobilization, can help to fix that problem, or at least put you a little bit back into your postural alignment so that pain doesn't happen as often. Now, an acute pain would be, let's say you go outside, it's a beautiful day, you're going to do some yard work, it's spring, and you're raking up all day, it's 6 hours of raking, and you wake up the next day and you can't move your arm. Well, that's where you have your acute pain. Same kind of things apply. It's something that, you don't want people to suffer. However, there's a reason that happened, and that's due to a poor mechanic of raking, an overuse of that motion of raking, and self-myofascial release, again, can help to alleviate this issue with the tissue. So, we got our secret. Now it's out. Everyone knows self-myofascial release is our secret to health, wellness, and vitality. So what are the benefits? We're going to fly through these. I'm not going to spend too much time on each one, okay? But it compresses, stretches, and lengthens muscles, tendons, ligaments, and the fascia, all right? Another one is to warm the tissue for safer activity and exercise. All right, we've got increased blood flow in both acute and chronically, and this is something where the doctor says, hey, you need to start exercising. All right, I'm looking at your numbers here. You're overweight, your blood pressure, cholesterol through the roof. You got to start exercising. Well, what the heck does that mean, folks? Does that mean you go to the gym, sign up for membership, get on that treadmill, and start running? Chances are these people that have these needs for exercise are probably not in a very good biomechanical alignment to begin with. So you're just going to, it's kind of like that raking of the leaves. You're just going to go in there on that treadmill and you're going to end up hurting yourself. So I truly believe that self-myofascial release would be the first place to go when you need to start exercising. It's where we start, all right? But it's going to, increase the blood, both acute and chronically. So in the sense of just one bout, you're pushing that blood around. You're going to get all that stale blood to go through the lymphatic system, to get recycled. Okay, you're going to get new blood that's hopefully nutrient dense, but definitely oxygen dense blood that's going to come into the areas to help start to repair some of the tissue that's been damaged. And as well as you can start to lower the bad cholesterol numbers and the bad blood pressure numbers if you're doing it more in a chronic sense. This promotes nutrients and oxygen-rich blood, which we just talked about. Okay, it increases our range of motion. So when people say flexibility, nowadays I know what they mean, but the correct term would be my mobility or my range of motion through a joint. So to do that requires self-myofascial release and repatterning. So if you're just sitting there statically stretching and you're never getting any loose in your hamstrings, this is why. You need to start doing some SMR. So when you do some self-myofascial release, it's going to stimulate the central nervous system. It's going to prepare the tissue for activity. All right, now what happens to a lot of the athletes that use self-myofascial release before their performance is they may go a little too far. They may go a little too deep. They may spend a little too much time on one spot because now, these athletes have been accustomed to self-myofascial release. They are accustomed to that it hurts so good feel, and they actually can fry the central nervous system before their actual performance. So you got to be careful in the sense of before performance, but it's more of a joint mobilization and superficial warm-up before you do it. All right. So this also helps to deactivate trigger points. What's a trigger point? In short, it's where the muscle fiber stays in contraction. It doesn't release. Many reasons why, but when it doesn't release, metabolism is consistently happening every second, all day long. So you're getting your waste products, and those waste products start to build up. You get a little bit of a sewer going on in the area, and other things start to shut down there, and that's where you get your knot or your nodule. Deep in that little knot is where the actual trigger point is. So you can actually deactivate that when you're doing self-myofascial release. It helps to break down scar tissue, calcium deposits, and adhesions. People with bunions, people with scar tissue from surgeries or from accidents. This stuff can be broken down. It takes time, it takes consistency, but that is where the body is very resilient. So if you're breaking this down and your body starts to eat away at that scar tissue and starts to repair it better, you're going to have a better chance at having that increased range of motion and that better chance of going in the right direction in regards to correcting your blueprint or coming closer to correcting the blueprint. It also helps to calm and relax tense muscles after the stress of a post-workout. So when we're lifting, we're getting really, really tight and explosive, and that's okay, that's great, but now we need to relax that so it can repair and it doesn't stay in that state, okay? It also helps to promote muscle tone. So those bodybuilders out there, before you get out there in the show, on the stage, get down on a peanut, do some self-myofascial release, pop out those muscles, okay? And very similar to that is it separates fused muscles and tissue. So kind of like when you're pulling the chicken, boneless chicken out of the packages, they're all kind of smushed together and you got to pull them out. Our muscles kind of, because of that fascia, because it's really just one muscle sitting in 600 sacs, they kind of get overlapped and smushed and squished together, and they kind of stick. They get sticky. So this will help to unstick them, and they'll be able to be utilized a little bit better. Like I said about posture and toxins, it helps to release the toxins trapped that end up creating illnesses and disease. And it also releases chemicals and hormones for natural pain relief. So if you are experiencing some sort of pain, and instead of reaching for that ibuprofen, you could reach for your self-myofascial release tool, and if you spend a little time, you will then create a chemical release of natural pain relief type of chemicals that will just kind of make you at ease, it won't hurt as bad, so you can continue to do your self-myofascial release. And then finally, it disrupts the mechanisms that cause the perpetuating cycle of constant metabolism within a sarcomere of a muscle spindle. Well, that's actually the same as helps to deactivate trigger points, just on a little bit of a different mindset there. So, as we start to wrap things up here, I want to start to link habit to and I want to show you how the unification of mind, body, and spirit are very important. So, on unified, your mind is kind of described basically as the capability of conscious thought. So that's being able to judge things. Your body is the vessel which carries out physical duties necessary for survival, and it's kind of dictated by your brain, by your mind. And then you've got your spirit, or this is a synonymous word to soul. Spirit is the true ego, or the inner self of a person. So this is where your emotional stuff kind of comes into play, and your ability to be empathetic comes into here. And then let's just add habit for a second here. Habit is the usual repeated pattern of doing something. It's the way of behaving that you just constantly do. And when you want to create a good habit or get rid of a bad habit, there is a lot of work that goes involved there to have that stick. So when your mind, body, and spirit are connected, okay, you're going to have the interdependent balance that of these three elements. They actually help you with your personal development. It's a holistic way of living life, and you're more aware of your surroundings, yourself, and of self-actualization. Okay, so when the spirit is high, you're going to have the ability to change that habit a little bit higher. I find that people that have low spirits, and today a lot of us have low spirits, I'm guilty for that as well, that you get so busy in this hustle bustle world, you don't take time to smell the flowers or get within yourself into your inner mind and kind of have a conversation with yourself. It's just on the go, and then time to go to bed. And so you try to make a habit change. You might say, I'm going to do it. Tomorrow's going to be day one, but the minute something happens, the minute maybe the car doesn't start on the way to the first day of the gym, that's where it's just so easy to quit. So when your spirit is high, you're going to continue to follow through with that habit change. So let's just kind of revisit that whole thing, okay? I've got the Daily Habit Challenge. This is where when peanutting, it's a 5-minute a day thing for people, because I know habits are hard, so I'm trying to keep it easy for you. 5 minutes, all right? It's 45 seconds on each foot. It is 45 seconds on each butt cheek, and it is 1:20 between the shoulder blades and thoracic spine area. Now, this was designed because your feet are the foundation, your butt is the driving force, and your thoracic spine and your shoulder blades has a lot of the stuff that we're kind of utilizing for movement and taking care of life. And so those are the areas that need to get attention first, I believe. But the goal here is, by doing this, you're going to connect your mind and your body a little deeper. You're going to, ooh, that hurts, ooh, and then you start focusing on it. Well, the more you do that, the more the mind and body connect, spirit will become evoked. So SMR actually connects the mind, body, and spirit together. And that's going to help you make that habit change. So if you have experienced some sort of self-myofascial release routine and you've been consistent, you notice that things get a little bit more perpetual in the positive sense. You're going to start taking care of yourself better. You're going to stop following through the things you say you want to do. But when you fall off on a big scale. Everything kind of gets thrown out the door. And we have to start all over, which can be frustrating. So with all that being said, guys, I want you to understand that there's a need for an education. People need to know about self-myofascial release. They need to know that this is a natural solution to pain and to your postural deficiencies and to help your performance. It is not very difficult to see that when you see a presentation like this or when you experience it yourself, that this is something that we should all be doing. So my goal is through the next couple of generations of the youth to come is that it slowly, consistently gets instilled into those youth. I may be long gone by then off this earth, but my goal is that one day, just like these kids get up and they brush their teeth in the morning, before they go to bed, they do a little bit of self-myofascial release. Now I'm going to be biased, I'm going to say hopefully it's peanutting, but I don't care what it is. They could be using a water bottle to roll their foot, or as long as the action is there and it's part of the norm. That is the goal. So I'm going to ask you guys to help me, okay? Be a starfish thrower. Now, I don't know if you've heard the story of a starfish thrower. Basically, all the starfish washed up on the shore all across the world. A guy's walking down the shoreline, he picks one up, he throws one in. He picks one up, he throws one in. Kid up top on the boardwalk, "Hey, mister, you can't save all those starfish." Bends down, looks at the kid, throws one in, just saved that one. So I don't know if you kind of see where I'm going with this. As long as we can connect to a few people, and then it becomes more of a, people helping people. Our passion is compassion, okay? So we really want you guys to be compassionate as well and understand that, maybe your aunt or your sister or your best friend, and they're hurting and they're complaining, introduce the self-myofascial release to them, all right? You could direct them to our website for information. You could follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We have a YouTube channel, okay? And I just wanted to say, to finalize this whole presentation here, if you look at the entire picture of this presentation, we have one commonality between everything, and that is what Pericles said: there is but one disease, and its name is congestion. So thank you folks for coming. We're going to do a little demo out in the lobby area for you guys. You can get down on Peanut, try it yourself, ask questions, and I'm very grateful to be here today, and I thank you guys very much for sticking around. Have a good day.